What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy Chef. You already know what time it is. We are back for another episode of the YAK Pod. Now, this is episode number 68, and we are moving right along. But before we go ahead and get into everything that we're about to get into today, you know the deal. Smash that like button, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that gets the algorithm on my side, because if you are enjoying this content, you want the algorithm on my side. Now, if y'all saw the thumbnail, we're asking the question: are the Detroit Lions the number 3 team in the NFL? Now, where did we get that question from? I guess everyone who's a sports fan is familiar with Colin Cowherd, and Colin has his hierarchy, right? What is it? The Cowherd hierarchy or something like that. Got it right here. The herd hierarchy, right? Colin Cowherd herd hierarchy. So he ranks the teams and he gives his opinions. And coming in at number 3 is the Detroit Lions. Now, before we go ahead and get into what the graphic looks like, we're going to read his opinion. Colin Cowherd gives his opinion on why the Lions are number 3. Cowherd's thoughts: I think they have a stacked roster. I think they're the Niners, but with younger players and a more talented quarterback. They were number 3 in total offense, number 2 in passing offense. They can play from behind. They can play with the lead. They got to the conference championship for the first time since 1991. Their big issue last year, like Philadelphia, was that they were getting torched at cornerback. They addressed both cornerback spots. All right. He makes a valid point, or I should say he makes some valid points, because all of those things that he said were true things, right? We can play with the lead. Definitely we can play with the lead. We had the number 1 backfield in the history of the NFL last year, right? David Montgomery and the electrician Jahmyr Gibbs. So we definitely can play with the lead. We'll run the air out of the ball. We play ball control. We will keep the ball away from you. We do not have to pass, especially when we have the lead. We don't have to use our receivers, but we do have damn good receivers. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown. We got obviously J-Mo, who's expected to break out this season and be the number 2 receiver. Of course, we have Sam Laporta. We've got Khalif Raymond. We've got a pretty decent core. Later on, we'll talk about if the Lions need to sign a receiver. And we'll talk about a receiver that I am tired of seeing Lions fans want back, because I just don't really understand it. But anyway, we can play from behind because we have those receivers, right? So playing with the lead, we've got 2 excellent, fantastic running backs. Playing from behind, we have those receivers that I just talked about. Are we built like the Niners? In a way, I would say we are. And I think that's why we gave them so much trouble in that NFC Championship game in the first half. We didn't really give them too much trouble in the second half, but in the first half, we did everything that we wanted to do, and we gave them all that they could handle. And everyone was celebrating, trying to book their plans to go to the Super Bowl. But that's not what happened. So now we're expected to come back. Colin Cowherd believes that we are going to be coming back. Colin Cowherd believes that we are number 3. Now, let's look at the graphic and see who he has over us. There's a very interesting one that he has next to us, and we'll talk about. It's kind of weird. The Chargers weren't even a playoff team last season, and now he's got them at number 10. I know Jim Harbaugh arriving is supposed to be a big boost for them. I don't know. They lost Keenan Allen. They lost Mike Williams. You got Justin Herbert. I don't know that they did too much to really significantly improve their team so that they would be a playoff team. I'm guessing if you're saying, well, it's addition by subtraction. They got Brandon Staley out of there, and they got Jim Harbaugh in there. Jim Harbaugh, as we know, is a champion. Go Blue, national champion. But is that enough to push them up to number 10? Like overall in the NFL, be the number 10 team, which is going to guarantee you a playoff spot. I'm not so sure. I have to see it. But when we're talking about San Francisco peaking last season and that being the best of them, I don't particularly agree with that. I think San Francisco is still going to be formidable. You talked about all these people that they got back and nobody that they actually lost. It's just speculation that they will lose Deebo Samuel. And now if they're moving on from Deebo Samuel, that means that they are signing Brandon Ayuk to an extension. Deebo Samuel can be the straw that stirs the drink. Not only is he a fantastic player, he definitely is a glue guy. He definitely is a person that galvanizes that offense. So if you're moving on from Deebo Samuel, I guess that could drop you a few spots. Does it drop you enough to say, now when we talk about the Packers, right? The Packers were another team, just like the Lions after them, that could have beat the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers came into that game against the Packers after the Packers had demolished, took apart piece by piece the Dallas Cowboys. And then they went in to San Francisco, or I should say Santa Clara, Levi Stadium. And they were taking it to the 49ers, and the 49ers pulled it out at the end, much like what happened with the Lions. But that's why the Packers, I think, are above the 49ers. But with the loss of Deebo Samuel, you had 9 Pro Bowlers return, and then the projected loss of Deebo Samuel, we don't know anything yet. We know, as we said, they drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round. That may indicate that they are moving on, but we are only speculating that they will move on until we see the cut or the trade for Deebo Samuel. We don't know what's going to happen. So right now, with the roster intact the way it is, they brought back a lot of guys. They got the Pro Bowler back. The Pro Bowlers, I should say, and then they got their safety back. I think he tore his ACL. Yeah, he tore his ACL on a play. So they got him back. Is he now not good enough? You know what I mean? I on the whole, on the surface, I don't really understand the argument for putting the San Francisco 49ers at number 6. If you're saying they peaked last year and that was the best of them, I don't know that that's true, because the year before that, they were right in the same position. They were in the position to go to the Super Bowl, but obviously with Christian McCaffrey taking snaps at running back, at quarterback, and you not having another quarterback. So the point is, Christian McCaffrey is not throwing the football. The offense is disjointed. You've gone through all of your backups. Everybody got knocked out from the quarterback position. And then you had a running back taking snaps Now, I'm not going to say, and they still almost beat the Eagles, because I think after Purdy got hurt, they weren't really in that game at all. But that was the year before last. Then last year they came back full strength. Purdy was not hurt. Purdy played the whole game. They went to the Super Bowl. Now, did they get outclassed by the Kansas City Chiefs? They did not. They did not get outclassed by the Kansas City Chiefs. That game went to overtime. Generally, when you say a game goes to overtime, there's no outclassing. There's no outclassing. And in the end, obviously, Kyle Shanahan was outcoached by Andy Reid, because that's Andy Reid. He's up there when you talk about the greatest coaches of all time. Andy Reid is up there. Now, if you're talking about the greatest offensive coaches of all time, that might be Andy Reid. It just might be. So now you look at that situation. You look at the year before. You look at that one last year. I don't understand how they peaked. So I don't agree with putting San Francisco number 6. I think if you want to put them behind the Detroit Lions, directly behind the Detroit Lions, I think that would probably be a better option than the Rams. Because, last year they had the rookie Colby Turner, who had a fantastic year, but he was playing alongside Aaron Donald. Now he's not playing alongside Aaron Donald anymore. So what is he going to do? Obviously, his numbers are going to come back down to earth a little bit, especially because he's on the interior defensive line. So whatever he had, like 9-10 sacks or whatever, it's not normal for an interior defensive lineman unless your name is Aaron Donald. And like I said, Aaron Donald is no longer there. He retired. So again, putting the Rams directly behind the Detroit Lions, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to me. I know the draft went swimmingly for them. I don't think it could have gone too much better for the Rams. And I was not happy about it because, like I said, there is a budding rivalry between us and the Rams. What's going on, Flex? Obviously, Baltimore being number 2 above the Lions. I mean, when the Lions in Baltimore played, we got eradicated. Like, it was a defensive clinic on their end. I can't really say it was an offensive clinic on their end as well, because I don't think they did anything that was like spectacular. It was just, they just had so much time. Lamar Jackson is running around back there for 10 seconds. You can't expect anybody to cover for 10 seconds. That's not what a cornerback is back there to do. That's not what a safety is back there to do. They're not back there to cover for 10 seconds. And I know it's Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson is going to give you at least an extra 2 to 3 seconds. At least an extra 2 to 3. So let's just say it was against a normal quarterback. 7 and 8 seconds is still too much. It's too much. It's too long of a time for you to be sitting back there as a quarterback, just patting the ball. All right, let me go through my progressions. 1, 2, 3, throw. Nope. 3, 2, 1. Nope. 1, 2. Just going through the progressions back to back to back, and then you find someone who's open because you've gone through the progression so many times. When you went through the progressions before, 1, 2, 3, possibly 4, depending on how many receivers you have out there, you've looked at all of your options, and then you've gone in reverse and looked at all of them again, and then one more time you go and you look at all of your options, and anybody is going to be able to find someone open when they look at their their 3 to 4 options on each play. When they look at those people 3 times, that is a lot. What's up, David Barton? Welcome back. So again, it's easy to see why the Baltimore Ravens are above the Detroit Lions. And also, of course, we know that Kansas City is number 1. They did win the Super Bowl. I'm not super excited or super worried about Xavier Worthy. If you haven't watched the film of Darion Arnold being on Xavier Worthy, go ahead and check it out. It's a pretty good situation for you to see how he covers someone who is 0.3 of a second faster than him. I know 0.3 of a second doesn't sound like a lot, but when you say 4.540 versus 4.2.1, it sounds like a whole lot. But I think he did really well covering him. I think he did really well with the technique. So I'm not really worried about Xavier Worthy too much, but the Chiefs are going to be number 1 until someone knocks them off. Chicago Bears will win 7 games in 2024. I hope they do win 7 games. I hope they win 8. Hell, you know what? I hope they win 9. Obviously, none of them being against the Lions. I hope the Bears win 9 games and miss the playoffs. Because the more games that they win, the farther down the draft board, the drafting order they will be. And I don't know that Ryan Poles is the type of GM that drafts particularly well. Up until this point, it would be considered that he hasn't drafted particularly well. Getting Caleb Williams obviously they were gifted Caleb Williams by the Carolina Panthers, who traded them their first round pick this year so that they could get Bryce Young. And they were absolutely terrible. They lost the most games. They had the worst record, and so on and so forth. So this is why the Bears were able to go ahead and get the first overall pick in Caleb Williams. And we hope Caleb Williams just does what he's known to do, which is play hero ball. And as I've said this before. I said this yesterday when the doc was on. I said that, hold on, let me share the stream. I said that he's known to lock on to receivers. And when you lock on to a receiver, especially in the NFL, you're going to throw a lot of picks. So, like I said, I hope the Bears do win 9 games this season, and I hope none of them are against the Lions. And I hope they get pushed further and further down that draft board, so that they can get worse and worse and worse. Let's see. If Caleb Williams pans out, yeah, they'll be dangerous in 2025 if Caleb Williams pans out. Yes, but I'm hoping he doesn't pan out. Well, I mean, we got Darion Arnold back there, so hopefully he'll play at least one of the games against the Bears. So, I mean, picks incoming. I mean, we've got now the personnel to go 3 safeties. If you want to call Brian Branch a safety, you can have Kirby Iffy and Brian Branch back there. So that's gonna be your dime package, your 6 DBs. You're gonna have Carlton Davis the third. You're gonna have Amik Robertson, and you're gonna have Ennis Rakestraw on the field, or not Ennis Rakestraw, probably Darion Arnold. We'll see what happens. We have the personnel now to be able to make some things interesting, and that was why the Detroit Lions were given a B overall by the NFL. I don't think they liked the Manu pick or the Vaki picks, but that's what our draft grade was, and that's going to bring us into our next topic. But before we get to that, like I said, I would talk about this question. So here is the question. With all of the things that we have seen, the draft is over. The first wave of free agency is over. Now, obviously, there's older guys who are waiting for training camp before they sign a deal. What is going on, Justifan? Glad to see you here, man. So do the Detroit Lions need to sign a receiver? All right. So we've got a few UDFAs. We have Isaiah, is it Washington? I think that's his name. I know Isaiah Washington is an actor from the University of Illinois. So we have him. I mean, I've heard good things about him, but he does have small hands. And as a receiver, I'm not so sure how that works out. That seems to be pretty detrimental to a receiver. Like now, look, the one that I'm talking about here is DJ Chark. I don't understand Lions fans and DJ Chark. DJ Chark is oft injured. I think he played like 5 games for it was something ridiculous. He didn't really play here. And I don't begrudge him for going to Carolina and getting his money and all that. That's it's the business. What I'm looking at is just the fact that he's hurt every year. Like, this is a receiver with an extensive injury history. Obviously, some of them have been worse than others. Some of them have been minor, but he misses a lot of time. And it's all over Twitter. Lions fans asking for DJ Chark back, and I just have no idea. I have no idea why so many people want DJ Chark back. He can play when healthy, David, but when is he healthy? That's the thing. And I know you're not counting on him. I know you're not, because we have JMO. So you're not counting on Chark to be that number 2 receiver like you were when he was here before. Goff is comfortable enough with him, obviously, because he played with him for a whole season. Well, not a whole season. Whenever he was available, he played with him. So he could come in kind of right away and just rekindle that chemistry with Goff. But should we do that? And I'm going to say the answer is no. I don't, like I said, it's just the infatuation. It's the infatuation that I don't understand. Every time a receiver is brought up, Lions fans are like, DJ Chark, DJ Chark. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why we believe that DJ Chark can stay healthy and be impactful for 17 games. That's just me. I just don't understand why we believe that. I don't believe that, which is why I'm talking about it. So I'm gonna say no on DJ Chark. DJ Chark is not what it says, injury prone. Yeah, so I don't think he will stay healthy. I don't think he'll be brought back. He loves the city and the team and all that stuff, and that's wonderful. And we love people who love Detroit. But again, it's just not something that I want to do. Now, another thing that I wanted to look at is our schedule. Now, obviously, we don't know who we are going to play when. We know who we are going to play throughout the season. But like I said, we just don't know the time slots, who is going to come in on what date, where are we going to go on what date, and things of this nature. So just to look at our schedule. And I'll keep it outside of the division. We know we have to play the Bears twice, the Packers twice, and the Vikings twice. We already know that. So we have the Buffalo Bills. We have the Arizona Cardinals. We have the Dallas Cowboys. We have Green Bay. Like I said, we know that. We have the Indianapolis Colts. San Francisco 49ers. The Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tennessee Titans. Now, the interesting thing is I'm looking at footballschedules.com. The interesting thing is it says that we are at Arizona. We are at Dallas, of course. We're at the Houston Texans. We're at the Indianapolis Colts. We're at the San Francisco 49ers. And that's all for the ats. Let me count that up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 ats. No, we have 9 ats that have been added in this situation. So I don't know if they've leaked out that information, like, okay, this is where you're going to play, or this is who you're going to play and where you're going to be. But they have not given us the dates. Now, if we go, and my prediction has been, since the end of last season, my prediction has been 13-4. Now, I don't think it's crazy to say 13-4 because we went, was it 14-3 last season? And I'm not counting the Dallas game as a loss. I'm counting that as a win. So 14-3 is what we did last season. If you want to say 13-4, that's fine. But now, I've said that we're going to do 13-4 again. Let's look at some draft grades from our opponents. Okay. Now, the first opponent on the list was the Buffalo Bills. So let's go ahead and look at their draft grade. See, the Buffalo Bills got a B+. Now, the Buffalo Bills got a B+. We got a B. Okay, so we're going to do it that way. Buffalo Bills got a B+. The Lions got a B. The draft picks of the Buffalo Bills were Florida State wide receiver Keon Coleman, who is hilarious, by the way. If you haven't seen that, is his introductory paragraph. If you haven't seen his introductory press conference, go ahead and give it a look. He is extremely funny. He talked about going to Mrs. What? Mrs. No, what are you talking about? Mrs. All right. He's from Louisiana, so he says Mrs. So he's hilarious. Utah DB Cole Bishop, Duke defensive tackle Dwayne Carter, Ray Davis, running back from Kentucky, Cedric Van Pran Granger. Wow, that's a mouthful. Cedric Van Pran Granger. He's a center from Georgia. Washington linebacker Edfouan Ulofascio. Troy defensive end Javon Solomon. Shout out Matthew Broder. Matthew Broder he's the one that turned me on to Javon Solomon. Javon Solomon he's like another James Houston type of player. But I don't know that he's as good as James Houston. I mean, he's probably better against the rush than James Houston. But, you know, if he's rushing the passer, passing, I mean, like I said, he's very good. I think he had like 5 sacks this season. And this is from the interior defensive line. If you want to compare that with something, Aleem McNeil had the same amount of sacks. He had 5 sacks this season and did not play in every game. As we know, he missed 3 or 4, well, I think it was 4 games due to a knee injury. So that is who the Buffalo Bills have, and they were given a B+ while we were given a B. Excuse me. I don't believe that the Bills will beat us. Before the draft, I said that we would beat the Bills. I'm not scared of the Bills. I'm not really scared of anybody on this list. We could be tough and say we're not afraid of anybody on the on the field. But, there's one team that you're afraid of. I know, for sure. All right. Our next opponent outside of the Bears is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the draft grade for the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, the draft grade for the Arizona Cardinals is an A-. So they picked up Ohio No State wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., Missouri defensive tackle Darius Robinson, Rutgers DB Max Melton. Now those first 3 picks are outstanding picks. I'm not sure about Darius Robinson. I know that there was talk after the draft that the Lions may have been trying to trade up for Darius Robinson. If you watch Brad Holmes' press conference after the second round pick that he made, I don't think that the Lions weren't trying to get an edge rusher. I think they were, because what he said was, we were trying to trade up to the mid to high 30s, right? And we know who went in the high 30s. Who went in the high 30s? Does anybody remember? Remember, the Falcons made an awful pick, and they picked this guy before. And then someone just jumped on him and was like, thank you, Atlanta, for making a dumb decision. Does anybody remember? Yeah, they picked Ohoroho, but they picked Ohoroho. They picked Ohoroho before who? Who did they pick him before? And I think the Commanders swooped in and got him. I think it was the Commanders. It was Jerzon Newton, right? The Atlanta Falcons picked Oro. They picked him instead of Jerzon Newton. And like I said, Jerzon Newton being picked not by the Falcons, but I think it was by the Commanders. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's what that is. I think Arizona had an excellent draft. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm probably more afraid of Arizona than I am the Buffalo Bills. Now, especially if James Houston can return to who he was before the ankle injury. If he can return to that, then he definitely can make an impact against Josh Allen. Keep him in the pocket and things of this nature. So, Kyler Murray, he's a jitterbug. He's quick. He's fast. And we've always had the stigma on us that we can't lock down a mobile quarterback and keep him from going off for 100 plus. and then throwing for 200 plus yards or 300 plus yards per game. We couldn't do that. Now, I believe with the willing tacklers that we have, Ennis Rakestraw Jr. is a willing tackler. Terrion Arnold is a willing tackler. So with them coming up from the secondary and doing very well in space, doing very well in space, can they stop a Kyler Murray? Can they stop a Josh Allen? Yes. Terrion Arnold, he's a very good tackler, and he's a very willing tackler. And when you do get him open, or when you do get him in space one-on-one, like I talked about him against Xavier Worthy, Xavier Worthy was coming around on a reverse, and Terrion Arnold simply shed his blocker and hit Xavier Worthy before he could cut up field. Because that's the one thing about the Chiefs offense. If they get Xavier Worthy the ball quickly and they block for him for half a second, he is gone. Okay? And that's what we were talking about when we were talking about speed not being everything. No, it's not everything. But like I said, if you get him the ball and you get him a path, it's over with. You can just start walking back to the other side of the field, huddle up, and kick the field goal or the extra point, because it is over with. So who is their next opponent? Let's see. The Lions' next opponent is the Green. No, that's not the Packers. Who's their next opponent? We don't know if this is their next opponent. I'm just reading the list. So they have the Bears. Obviously, I won't waste too much time on the Bears. The Cowboys. They have the Dallas Cowboys after the Bears, which would normally be like problematic, but I don't care nothing about the Cowboys. I don't give a pit about nothing but the pride. The Dallas Cowboys, let's see what their draft grades are. All right. The Dallas Cowboys got an A-. They got an A-. Their picks were Tyler Guyton, number 29 overall, Marshawn Latimer, number 56, Connor Beebe, number 79, Maris Liafau, number 87, Kalen Carson, number 174, Ryan Flournoy, number 216, Nathan Thomas, number 233, and what's his name? Justin Rogers, not the reporter, Justin Rogers. Justin Rogers at number 244. So, they got a decent haul of picks, but am I afraid of the Dallas Cowboys after this haul of picks? No, I wasn't afraid of the Dallas Cowboys last season. And we beat them, but if they want to say we didn't, fine. All right. You can say that we didn't, because in the official record books, it goes in as a loss. But am I afraid of the Dallas Cowboys? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Who is the next opponent on the list? The next opponent is the Green Bay Packers. And, of course, we already know about what the Green Bay Packers did. They drafted everybody and their mother. So that's not, are we worried about the Green Bay Packers? Obviously there's a sense of worry to be had, especially since we split with them last season. I think in the second game, we kind of took our foots off the pedal and didn't expect it to happen because we just blew them out the first game, you know? So we didn't expect them to come and fight back and be what they were going to be, I guess. I'm not exactly sure. It's a divisional opponent. You should always be prepared for their best shot. But that's neither here nor there. The next opponent is the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans. Now, what was their draft grade? Draft grade for the Houston Texans was a... let's see. Where are they? Texans. Houston. Okay. The Houston Texans got an A-. Now, I'm not going to lie. This Texans game it's a toss-up to me. The one thing that I'm hoping is that Stephon goes in there and destroys that locker room. I'm hoping the diva energy is just too much for the culture. But here's the thing, though. If that does happen, and you have a diva going to another team and destroying the other team, well, all of you guys that don't like culture, you don't like the grit culture, your day is coming. Because what would happen in that situation if Stephon Diggs goes to the Texans and he destroys the rookie's confidence and he destroys the numbers that were put up by the Texans last year, then what he's officially what he's effectively done is to destroy the culture. And if he destroys the culture, then the Detroit Lions are going to be like, see, we told you that. We told you culture was important. All right, so who are their draft picks? They've got Georgia DB Kamari Lassiter. Hear me out. I don't know if there are any Kamari Lassiter fans in the chat. My thing with Kamari Lassiter. David Barton says, I love the grit culture. Patricia culture was depressing. That is very true. My thing with Kamari Lassiter, speaking of Patricia, speaking of Queen Trisha, right? Remember Tease Tabor? Remember when Tease Tabor was coming out and he ran a 4.6, almost a 4.7 40. And Bob Quinn was trying to, I don't know if he was trying to reassure everyone. I think he was just trying to push the narrative that he's the smartest guy in the room. Now, Bob Quinn apparently did more work on Tease Tabor than he did on any of the other cornerbacks in the draft. He said that, but the man still ran a 4.6. Now, I don't think that we can kill Bob Quinn for drafting a cornerback who runs a 4.6 and applaud whoever the Texans GM is for drafting a cornerback who runs a 4.6. I don't think we can do that. Right? Because he still ran a 4.6. You know, in college you can get away with that, but you can't in the pros. And that's always what I hear, right? So now, we drafted terrible in most of those years, but probably not all of their fault. Jelani Tavai, Jeff Okuda, Tease Tabor. The list goes on. I think it was all their fault. They were trying to draft players to fit a particular system. And once that system, the players didn't fit into that system, then, stuff started happening. So, all right. So they got Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame. He's an offensive tackle. They've got Kalen Bullock, USC DB. What's his name? Cade Stover from Ohio State University. He's a tight end. Oregon linebacker Jamal Hill. Joe Harder Jordan. Louisville running back. USC DE Solomon Bird. Auburn DT Marcus Harris, number 247 overall, and Michigan offensive guard Ladarius Henderson, number 249 overall. I don't know too much about those guys, but I don't think too many of them are going to contribute this year. Maybe Kalen Bullock will contribute because for whatever reason, the Houston Texans, they seem to have injury issues in their secondary. And they're going to get another liability very, very soon. In their secondary, they've got Jeff Okuda. They signed him. So we know that his health is not able to be fixed. All right. So let's see who else we have here. We have after the Texans, we have the Colts. I'm not excited about that Colts game. I'm not excited about that Colts game. If Anthony Richards is playing, Richardson, he was looking really dynamic before he got injured. Now he did have his slow starts. He did have his ups and his downs. But any rookie is going to do that. But that guy's a problem. And I hope it's later in the season so we have figured out our defense. I hope it's actually after the trade deadline. That would be fantastic. If it's after the trade deadline and Brad is able to identify an edge, whose a contract is expiring or something like that. But if we don't get an edge and they got Anthony Davis rolling to his left, it's going to be a difficult night for us. Obviously, we don't know what James Houston can do against the run. He was talking about people allowing him to showcase his talent. He hadn't got a whole lot of opportunity to showcase that talent. So, maybe he becomes better against the run. I'm not sure. All right, after that, we have the Queens, the Vikings, and then we have the San Francisco 49ers. Now, we just talked about what the San Francisco 49ers have done, who they drafted, and how they are maybe planning to move on from Deebo Samuel. As I said, if they move on from Deebo Samuel, that contract will get paid that day, okay, to Brandon Ayuk, because they don't want to miss out on him either. Oh, hell no, Kuda. That's what I call him. Oh, hell no, Kuda, just a fan. All right. Then we have the Packers again. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, for the sake of argument, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll look at the grades for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They got an A-. All right. They did get Brian Thomas Jr., but again, we got 15 corners in the draft, so I'm not really worried about people getting receivers. LSU defensive tackle Mason Smith, Florida State DB Jarrian Jones, Missouri offensive tackle Javon Foster, LSU nose tackle Jordan Jefferson, Mississippi. Wait a minute now. Hold on. LSU Jordan Jefferson. Is he related to Justin Jefferson? Does anybody know? So anyway, DeAndre Prince, Mississippi DB, Keelan Robinson, Texas running back, Arkansas kicker Cam Little, Texas Tech defensive end Miles Cole. I mean, he's not Myles Garrett. He's not Myles Garrett. It's easy to dismiss the Jaguars. The Jaguars have been underperforming. Remember, they re-signed Josh Allen earlier in free agency. They've been underperforming. We beat the brakes off of them a couple years ago. What was like 42-17, and James Houston temporarily injured Trevor. Why am I blanking on his name? Trevor Lawrence, right? So I don't know, man. I don't think that the Jaguars offer anything. The Los Angeles Rams. So much. The Los Angeles Rams. I mean, obviously, I believe that'll be a win. Minnesota Vikings, no one cares. Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks is going to be a win for one particular reason. I think the person that had our number, it was a person. I think it was Pete Carroll. I don't think the Seattle Seahawks have our number. I think it was Pete Carroll that had our number. And whatever information that he had about us, he was disseminating that information as the coach on the sideline. Now, during the games and things of that this year, he will be a consultant. He will be up in the booth. So he will not be down on the field. The Green Bay Packers, let's see, the Minnesota Vikings, Seattle, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Tennessee Titans. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, let's see what their draft grade was. Excuse me, I did not have my coffee this morning. Let's see, the Bucks. All right, Tampa Bay Buccaneers got a B+. We got a B. We beat them twice last year. Is that extra plus going to do anything? I don't know. So they got Graham Barton, number 26 overall. Chris Braswell, number 57 overall. During the pre-draft process, we looked at Chris Braswell, and I mean, he wasn't super duper impressive. He wasn't super duper impressive. Tyke Smith, Georgia DB. He's supposed to be really good. Washington receiver Jalen McMillan. He's gonna be good for them. Bucky Irving. UTEP offensive guard Elijah Klein. Don't know anything about him. Washington DE Devin Cub. I don't look at their additions and go, wow, these people are going to push them over the hump. And again, we have to look at the baseball stats, like this, the WAR thing, wins over replacement or wins above replacement. So who did they replace that was a reason that they lost to us? But then you also have to look at who did we replace. That could have been a reason that we were close in that game. Can I interest you in Will Harris signing with the... Hold on, man. We have to have a party about that one. Will Harris has signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints. Can I interest you in that? Can I interest you in Will Harris signing a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints? I'm very interested in it. I'm very interested in it because that means that there is no way in hell that Will Harris is coming back to the Detroit Lions. He found a team that wanted to sign him. Listen, fantastic news. Okay, because I know I wasn't the only one. I know that there were other Lions fans who were just sitting out there going, if this dude finds a way to find himself back on the team, I'm going to scream. I wasn't the only one, I'm pretty sure. So, now I don't want to wish anything bad on the young man. You know, I hope he has a long, illustrious career in New Orleans. But I was going to say about him being cut, and I was going to use a different word, but I'll use a different word now than what I was going to use before. If he gets cut by the New Orleans Saints, then we're watching the waiver wire once again. We're watching to see if he gets cut by the New Orleans Saints. We're waiting to see if he's going to be asked to return by the Detroit Lions. And goodness gracious, I hope not. I hope not. So the next team that we have, the last team that we have, is the Tennessee Titans. They received an A- grade. They got J.C. Latham, number 7 overall. Tavondre Sweat, number 38 overall. North Carolina linebacker Cedric Gray, number 106. Louisville DB Jarvis Brownlee Jr., number 146. Jaquan Jackson, number 182. James Williams, number 242, who's a linebacker out of Miami. Michigan linebacker Jalen Harrell. It was pretty solid, man. It's pretty solid. It's just Will Levis is the quarterback. Their receiving core is D-Hop and some other dudes. And again, D-Hop is not what he used to be. Obviously, he's older now. And I'm not going to go out and say that the Titans scare me. The only teams on this list that I worry about. Obviously, I worry about the Packers and the Bears. We don't know what the Bears are going to be, but they seem to be on the right track. I'm not worried about the 49ers. I'm not worried about them because I think that they're going to be a cakewalk. I'm not worried about them because we've seen that we can beat them. All we have to do is play an entire 60 minutes. Please, for the love of God, play the entire game. That's all I'm asking you to do. If we play the entire game the way that we played that first half, we were in the Super Bowl. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what happened. So if you come to the regular season and you're playing the San Francisco 49ers, I'm not frightened. I said before this, when the schedule came out, it wasn't really the schedule. It was just our list of opponents, right? When the list of opponents came out, I wasn't afraid of anybody. And I said, I don't think anybody should scare you. I think that we can beat everybody. We have the potential to beat every single one of them. So I don't really see a team. I guess I could say I'm worried about the Texans. Where do I think that we're going to have the most trouble? I think we'll have the most trouble within our own division. Because our division is becoming a murderer's row. Nobody knows really what Caleb Williams is going to be. Nobody knows what J.J. McCarthy is going to be. But if they are what they're projected to be, it's going to be rough. It's going to be a rough 6 games. There's going to be a lot of splits. I don't think there will be too many. I don't think there'll be too many clearings of teams in our division. We split with the Packers last year. We split with the Bears last year. Maybe we should have lost to the Bears both times. But one thing that the Bears don't have is the legs of Justin Fields. Again, and I'm going to keep saying this, mobile quarterbacks gave us so many problems. They gave us so many problems. But hopefully we've added too much in the secondary for someone not to be able to come down and make a tackle. But Brian Thomas of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Brian Thomas Jr., how far has this family come? We came from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. If y'all didn't see that, it was hilarious. Anyway, Brian Thomas Jr., he's a guy that's going to stretch the field. We've got the cornerbacks. We've got the safeties to cover all that. So, like I said, I'm not particularly worried about any of these people. I'm predicting 13-4. I think the 4 losses come 2 within our division. I think we split with the Bears and the Packers. The Cardinals is a team we could lose to. I think we finally get the Cowboys, man. Because they just keep putting us in Dallas. And after the debacle last year, they owe us one. So we're playing the AFC South. That's why we're playing the Texans. Texans or Colts. Texans or Colts. Maybe even both of them, man. Because I'm trying to get 4 losses. It's possible, again, I don't know what's happening with J.J. McCarthy, and I don't know what he's going to be in the NFL. So I can't look at that Vikings team, which we swept last year, and then say we're not going to sweep them again. Sam Darnold, is he an upgrade over Nick Mullins? I mean, yes, but he's still going to throw you some. We may not get 6 picks off of what's his name? Sam Darnold. Damn Sarnold. We might not get 6 picks out of Sam Darnold, but I mean, we could get 2 or 3 in 2 games. Especially now we have ball hawking. Well, not ball hawking. I guess you could call Amik Robertson a ball hawk. So we have 2 ball hawking cornerbacks in Terrion Arnold and Amik Robertson. Carlton Davis and Ennis Rakestraw are not. They're similar in the fact that they get their hands on balls, but they don't do a lot of intercepting. I'm glad you agree with me, Justifan. So I don't know, man. I'm like I said, I'm just gonna have to give it to the Texans and the Colts. So it says so hard. Justifan says so hard to go undefeated, and we do play Thanksgiving Day, our traditional loss on national TV. Again, yo, Broder, what is going on, buddy? Glad you could make it. Again, we have to see who we're playing on Thanksgiving. We lose a lot on Thanksgiving, yes. But that was the same old Lions. But then we turn around and lost to the Packers on Thanksgiving. So because it rotates, it should be an AFC opponent. So that could be the Colts or the Texans. If it's the Colts or the Texans, I guess that takes care of one of the, because if we combine the fact that I think that either one of those teams could beat us and then we put it on Thanksgiving, that's a possibility that that's where the loss comes from. Broder, you're just joining. I've given a prediction of 13-4 next year, and I'm trying to find 4 losses on this schedule. I'm not afraid of any of the teams, but I am concerned about the Colts and the Texans. I think we split with the Packers and the Bears, and it's a possibility that we lose both to the Colts and the Texans, or we lose one game to one of them. Who concerns you? Who concerns you the most, Broder? I know you know the lineup, but I'll go through it again. We have the Bills. I'm not gonna say the divisional opponents because we already know this. So we have the Bills, the Cardinals, the Cowboys, the Texans, the Colts, the 49ers, the Jaguars, the Rams, the Seahawks, the Buccaneers, and the Titans. I think we're going to be amped up, man. As I've been saying, this Rams thing is now, it's becoming a rivalry. Because people were talking about closure and ripping people's hearts out and saying we were booing their children and all this craziness. Mischaracterizing the fans in the city. I don't think that the Staffords will be welcome back this year. So I think the playoff, the atmosphere will probably be something similar to the playoff atmosphere when he does come back. So what do we have to do to get me to Detroit for a game? I'm working on something. I'm working on something that will allow me to be able to do things like that. So we'll see. I'm not going to say too much. Let's see. Colts and Texans both going to be real solid to very good. Yes, they are. Texans and Colts. Well, you know what, brother? I touched on that earlier. I don't think that the Seahawks had our number. I think it was Pete Carroll. I think it was Pete Carroll that had our number, and because Pete Carroll is no longer there, not in a coaching role, I think we beat them. 49ers will be tough, but if we can play a complete game against the 49ers, I believe we can beat them. David Barton is neighbors with the Simpsons. He said he had a beer with Homer the other day. So I mean I don't want to say the Texans and the Colts would be the losses. Damn. That's tough. That's tough. I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to say the Texans and the Colts. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we don't swap out a fourth loss. I hope we just go 14-3, and I was just wrong because I said 13-4. That's that's pretty much it. I can't really, because I've seen us against the 49ers. I've seen the Cowboys. No years are we ever afraid of the Cowboys, but we always get jobbed when we go to Dallas, and for whatever reason, the Cowboys just don't come to Detroit. It's always us going there. The last time I remember the Cowboys being in Detroit was during the 90s. So, and they had that, it was Emmett versus Barry. And I think Barry outgained Emmett by like a yard or something, but we got the win, so that's all that really mattered. Yeah, so I'm never gonna say that we're gonna lose to the Cowboys. I'm gonna keep saying that we didn't lose to them last year. We beat them and then we got screwed by the referees. Yeah. But that is it, guys. We are going to go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate everyone that came through and hung out in the chat. Broder says he had a baseball tryout. What was it, in Missouri? Springfield Cardinals. Yeah. Yeah, I was a little bit laggy today, brother. I didn't have my coffee in the morning. But we keep it clean though. We keep it clean. All right, guys. So as I said, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Appreciate everyone that came out and hung out with me in the chat. If you did not subscribe on the way in, please subscribe on your way out. If you didn't share on the way in, please share on your way out. If you didn't smash the like button on your way in, smash the like button on your way out. And as always, until next time, peace.